You're listening to the Rogers Waterfowl Podcast. This is Aaron Jones.
Chandler Smith here. Let's talk some waterfowl.
Decent, 10 to 12 mile an hour wind out of the west.
Yeah.
And you're hunting an evening, and you can get those birds coming from the east, coming into that sun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've had great luck on a sunny day because you've got shadows.
Yeah.
The birds are coming into the decoy spread. They're coming into the blinds, but the sun's right in their face.
Sunny day, I definitely think it's easier to hide. But I don't know.
You might have some shadows to hide in, but you also can't get away with much movement because you got sun on you. You're going to stand out when you move around unless you're really, really well camoed covered. I'm talking face mask and covering your hands and everything.
Sun on your back, though, I think is awesome.
Well, and also, sun in the ducks' faces, I think is good
exactly.
too.
And that goes true with any wildlife, really, whether you're turkey hunting, deer hunting, or you're spot and stalk elk hunting, anything, you always want the sun at your back so the animal, if it tries to spot you, it's got to stare into the sun. But I don't know. I've killed ducks in every condition.
Me too, but I get more excited on an overcast day. But then I see all these people on Facebook and they're like, "Oh, I don't even want to mess with it if it's not sunny." I'm like,
what?
It's just different from what I've
heard
that
too.
I think my best days, I think some of my most memorable days and some of my best days have been in just junk conditions.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
Whether the hunting was necessarily the best, I don't know though. Man, I'd sleet and
it might
snow
come down to more to pressure than we know, like barometric pressure.
Yeah,
I think this because like a bluebird sky, it's sunny out, but there's no wind.
Well, those days I don't like. If it's just
and there's high pressure, there's dry air. Those ducks are probably loafing around. They're all grouped up. They ain't moving around.
No, if it's one of those days where you just want to lay in the field and nap, what do you think the birds want to do?
Exactly. Yeah. I think sometimes we need to pay attention to that because I think all these animals, they can feel that. They know when these pressure systems are coming and when it's going to storm and stuff like that. And we got to pay attention to that. But So guys, we kind of were talking about what we were going to discuss. We had multiple topics, and we were kind of thinking about discussing this one and last, but I think we just kind of started. So
right into it.
Just kind of
I think we're gonna start here, but we asked how many podcasts have we done right now?
I think
8?
we've done 8, and then the trailer. So this is number 9. But
we kind of asked this. We set aside like this day, and we asked people what do we want to cover? We want kind of like a listener questions that we're going to cover here on this podcast. So we've put it out on social media, asked around, and we kind of looked up some topics. There's a lot of good ones. There's some that we don't have experience with, so we put them down on the books to maybe to find somebody like sea duck hunting and stuff like that. We're in the middle of the smack dab United
Haven't
States.
done a lot of sea duck hunting in Missouri, but that's.
Well, I was on this creek the other weekend.
It happens, but I think this is something we plan on doing like every 6, 8, 10 episodes or whatever. Just
doing a recap, getting your guys' feedback.
Yeah, getting everybody's feedback and what they've thought so far or what they want to hear. Or, I'm sure we try to touch on certain things, but there's certain things people want to hear that we haven't touched on. So we do appreciate everybody who did respond with a question or had a question or thought of a topic they wanted to touch about. But, the weather and hunting is one that, like you said, we were going to maybe finish with, but we just we started talking about what we were going to talk about it, and it just we just hit the record button, started rolling. But then also, we're wanting to talk about public land
hunting, and we'll just kind of talk about as far as we know, because I don't know about you, Greg, or we've kind of hunted Missouri a lot. I really haven't traveled a long ways to waterfowl hunt yet. I plan on, but we got maybe our public land here in this area is a little bit different than yours, but I bet there's a lot of similarities, and we're going to go over that in a bit.
So, the podcast today, we've got Chandler.
Yep.
And Aaron here, and Gregory's jumping in with us.
Yep.
the resident call guy. He's been on a few podcasts with us so far, the Ducklander podcasts, and so we're going to use his knowledge base as well. So, weather, do we want to keep going with that?
Yeah. And I guess on this time of year, what everybody's thinking about, let's talk about greenhead, ducks.
Yes.
It'll probably transition to geese the same way, but we're probably going to be talking about water a lot. And maybe we could do this with geese, later on when it's, closer to November or something like that, But I'm probably going to be in the mindset of duck hunting. So that's kind of what I'm going to be talking
Agreed.
about.
And by no means here am I an expert on this either.
No.
This is I'm just going to speak from personal experience. And going into this, I've killed ducks on bluebird days. I've killed ducks on windy days. I've killed them on cloudy, rain, sleet, snow, ice. Pretty much, tsunami, hurricane, with the exception of an earthquake. I don't think I've ever. But I mean, all conditions I've killed ducks. Some stand out better than others. But I mean, I think any day you can get out and hunt, or you're able to do it, regardless. Don't be like, I've got 2 days to hunt this week or 1 day to hunt, but I'm looking at the weather on my phone and I don't think I want to. No, just get out there and do it.
Yeah. If you want to talk about movement, that's when you need to get on earthquake day.
Yes, exactly.
Those decoys.
Exactly. But
I mean,
the
biggest debate, I think, or not really debate, but I guess like just what Gregory said at the beginning. I don't know if we got the record button down. Bluebird versus cloudy, and I think there's more variables into that than just those two stipulations.
So, what would you call a bluebird day?
When I think of bluebird, I think of no wind and
sunny, calm.
Yeah, high pressure,
50 degrees.
It's a little bit warm in the day. You want to take a nap and eat some turkey and watch some football or something. That's kind of what it feels like in the fall when you got a bluebird day that you're not seeing anything.
That's what I'm going to think about now: eating turkey and watching football. And
yeah, but there is sunny days that have great hunts. I've had them. But I think it also had to do with where I was at, what time of day I was hunting too, and I mean the time of year. There was some good winds, moving some birds down. There was some activity, as far as weather up north, moving things around. There's a lot of variables, and I don't know if you can just pick one. But this you want to start on one or the other?
I don't know. I was talking about how, Gregory, I know he really likes cloudy days. I'm typically of the mindset, the crappier the weather, sometimes I think can be a better duck hunt. But I've had some just knockout duck hunts where, you're hunting some river bottoms. You've got a good west wind, so you can hunt an evening. The birds are going to be coming from the east, sun in their face. You can set up facing east. The sun's at your back. It's sunny, but it's not calm. You're talking 10, 15, maybe even 20-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be moving your full-body decoys out there in the field or whatever you're using. And, we've hammered them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think it had come down to a little bit of scouting. We were hunting a feed field that they were in the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at that point...
In a perfect scenario, too.
Yeah, and at that point, is it necessarily weather conditions, or if you find a feed field that, it could be whatever, but I don't know.
So let's talk about...
I have mixed feelings on this.
Weather. Let's talk about duck behavior. We'll talk about duck behavior first, then we'll go into decoys, and then we'll go into hiding, and then we'll go into calling, I guess. We'll try to go that way. But duck behavior during these two types of environments, there's a lot. I mean, on a bluebird sky, do you think, when there's no clouds, they're feeding pretty heavily at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are times that you're going to have your opportunity to catch them maybe on water. It's going to be very early or really, really late, probably after shooting light, as a struggle I've run into personally with those sunny days, because those ducks, I got to get out of the marsh and I'm watching thousands of ducks come in and I can't do nothing about it because, they're feeding at night, they're getting up later. It's just something I've noticed.
And two, if on those bluebird days like you're talking about, it's warm, it's sunny, and there's no wind. If you're hunting water and you got floating decoys, good luck. You got to have some sort of water motion, or you got to have something.
Yeah.
Because if your decoys are just stale in the water,
Yeah, whether cloudy or bluebird, if there's no wind, I think that's one of the toughest hunts.
Regardless of conditions.
For sure.
Yeah. So Gregory, I know you hunt quite a bit.
I try.
On a bluebird day, I mean, where are you hunting, and what are you thinking about whenever you're going out there? I'm trying to think about my mindset on that day. If it is, I mean, let's say, I mean, it's not the worst condition, but if it's sunny out, where are you going to be at?
My kind of go-to is morning water. Like, that's just what I've always pushed for. That's what I hunt most, is just water, and generally in the morning. Not to say we haven't had some great evening hunts, but my go-to is definitely in the morning. And bluebird day or cloudy day, we just kind of watch them and what the duck's like. So some days I'll be like quick to start with a bigger spread, or quick to start with more spinning wings or more swimmers or any type of motion. So kind of just depends.
I think for our area, spinning wings are a great additive when it's sunny out. I mean, it adds a big attraction to where you're at from a long ways when you have the sun hitting them.
Sure. And we're far enough north. I know that, we still have luck with spinning wings. We've talked with several guys from down south that said, Central Texas, South Texas, along the Gulf Coast, that by the time the ducks get down there, they're pretty educated. But speaking from, Central Missouri, North Missouri, I haven't had too many issues.
Yeah. No, I sure don't run a ton, but I do always have one available with me. And I don't put it out first thing, a lot of times. When that sun's barely coming up, I don't know if it's really doing anything for the spread. I think maybe a little bit of calling might get the birds' attention when they're flying lower or when they're flying around. But I definitely have one ready when it's sunny out, and I like to use timers personally, because when it runs constantly, and if a bird's maybe been shot at, or if they're a little stale, they're a little weary, they're going to sit there and look at that spread a little bit more thoroughly than just come in, feet down, ready to go. But when I have a timer, it kind of throws the effect of multiple ducks landing, something coming in, one after the other. I really like the look of that. I think it looks good. And then if you use something like a flock of flicker in the sunlight, it adds a little bit of realism around the spread, like a duck is ruffled his feathers real quickly, on the water, preening themselves or doing whatever they're on the water. That's what those flock of flickers do, what I think they kind of add to the spread. When you step back from a spread with that type of light motion in the sun, it looks really real. I mean, from a distance out, I'm not saying from when you're close it doesn't look real, but from a distance out, the little spinning wing flash on and off, and any flock of flickers or anything like that flashing in the sunlight. If it's on a timer, it just looks like multiple ducks, different times, different areas, making motion or making movements that reflect off the sun. It looks real. It looks like everything's running around.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great looking spread if the birds are moving. So if you got wind, and if it's a cool morning and it's sunny out, sunny doesn't mean hot. If it's a cool morning, you got a front coming in from the north or something, and these ducks are moving down, and maybe they're new. That's a great thing. Cold fronts from the north, and you got new ducks. They don't know where they're at.
It's hard to
they're hungry. They're tired. They don't know where they're at. So
I would definitely say on those sunny days, that's where, like you were saying, that's where the spinning wings really shine, or a flock of flicker, anything like that that catches that white. They're definitely, it's going to pull ducks from a long ways away. It's going to get their attention.
But I do think the finishing part is water motion.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I've seen on sunny days from a drone pick on maybe some water that's stagnant. Like, not stagnant, like no wind on a sunny day, or not a lot of wind. The mud and the water is not, mixed together, so you can kind of see, and you can almost see all those black, rigor cords or whatever you got running, Lifetime, those dark decoy cords. You can start to see them on a sunny day if the water's clear enough. But if you got water motion, that just, that refraction and all that stuff just messes that up, and they can't really tell what's going on down there, and it looks real. And I think that's a great way to finish. But, yeah.
I use one thing I do to kind of take advantage of that flash on spinning wings on a sunny day is, like, if you run like an HD on the remotes with a timer, it's intermittent timer, so you got decoys starting and stopping at different times, and we sink their tails, pretty much the tails in the water, and the wings are just above. And that flash, you get it off the wing, and then you get it off the water. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that look.
Yeah, when you get it low enough.
Especially like we hunt like a lot of flooded corn, so we'll put a row or two into the corn on a couple of them, and it just brings the attention. And then they kind of lose it in there. I really like that.
That's where that HDI is going to be nice too.
Yeah.
Waterproof.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you could darn near put it, literally in water.
I'm going to tell you what, I'm not saying that they're waterproof, but had a lucky, and just this past weekend in teal season, I took out a lucky twin pack, and I only took the hen. Just took a brown hen. I wasn't really sure if we were going to use it or not. It had fallen over in this really mucky, sandy stuff, and had fallen over when I wasn't paying attention, and pretty much the only thing sticking out was the head for probably 5 minutes. And I went out there and picked it up, water pouring out of it, and it started turning, still went, and it ran the rest of the time. And still works, I bet. I haven't tested since I got back, but I was kind of surprised after I pulled it out of the water. I was going to be like, well, I wonder what's going to happen here. I figured I'd have to.
Yeah.
Thought you would have to make a phone call or something.
Yeah.
That's no good.
But no, it worked fine, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's great.
But
you always lose one. There's always going to be one that goes under when you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Always.
Whatever.
Always.
So we're thinking, so bluebird sky, water in the morning is definitely, but there is times and days that I've found the morning was okay, and it usually always is, but then like for some reason 10 or 11 o'clock, it just lights up. And I think that has to do more with the temperature and the feeding schedule of the ducks. If it's later in the year, you're talking, we're getting close to the water freezing up, and it's getting colder, and these ducks need to get carbs, and they need to eat. They could be out longer, they could be out feeding longer, and then you're going to hunt a morning spot on water, and you might not see them, but don't leave at 9.
Yeah.
Wait till noon. What are you going to go do at home or something? I'd rather be out there anyways, just enjoying it.
I'd be a good duck. I like carbs.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm still thinking about turkey and Thanksgiving and football like he was talking about earlier.
But I don't know if I've told the story of one of the, some hunts I've had where we've gone out and we've kind of been upset because by 9 o'clock we don't have hardly anything. But then between 10 and 11, we're done. We're limited out. And
I would speak to that 100%. I couldn't tell you how many times, well, not necessarily ducks, but geese, like from 9 to 11. You say 10 to 11. I say from 9 to 11. Man, it's lights out. It's just a late flight. They don't want to get up. They don't want to move first thing. But from 9 to 11, when most people have packed it up at 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's
so
sure.
So know the temperature. These animals need to eat. They need carbs when it gets cold. They might feed more when it's colder out, so they might not be hitting water. But if you're hunting fields, that might offer you more time in the morning to be hunting a field if you're hunting full bodies and layout blinds and stuff.
Yeah. And one thing we ran into, a few years back, we had the weather got real cold and we locked up everywhere except the river. So we jumped on the Missouri River, and we had ducks pinpointed at, almost at 9 o'clock on the dime. They'd get up, and that's when they'd start flying. Really? So every day we wouldn't even go out until 8:15, 8:30, set decoys.
So you got to sleep in. Nice. Oh, yeah. That was nice.
Well, we didn't sleep in much, but we went and got big breakfasts. We get omelets and biscuits and gravy. And, it was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, of course, if you're having trouble with getting the birds to move, or it's starting to get late and you haven't seen much, if you're hunting water, if you're hunting a marsh, have that guy get up, go drop his waders, use the facility. Birds will start coming in.
Yeah, birds will start
coming in. That'll get the birds moving every time.
Oh, so
that never fails, at least to me. And I'm usually the one out there trying to take care of business, and then the birds start moving, and everybody else is, get down. And, of course, then there I am.
Yeah, how many scenarios? It feels like every hunt for me for a while. And when it's good duck hunting time, how many scenarios are you yelling at somebody to get down because they're in the wrong spot at the wrong time?
Oh, yeah.
And it's,
whether you're picking up a down bird that, you just shot out of the group, you're moving decoys.
You're looking for a bird in the brush.
Yeah. Whatever. Anytime you get out and step into the decoy spread or out of the blind anyways, the birds are going to be working.
So Never fails.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, too. I've had birds that continue to come in. I think, too, if depending on where you're at, they see that water motion, and I think that's what they're keying in, too. If you're out there walking through the decoys, I think I'm sure they see something out there, but I don't necessarily know that they know it's a person, because there's been times where, I mean, they're either trying to come in, they are coming in, they're close enough where guys can shoot them, and you're just walking in the decoy spread.
Yeah.
Because I think they just see that motion, they see the water stirred up amongst the decoys, and
So you're supposed to send your buddy that can't shoot to go move the decoys.
Because
the birds are going to be working, obviously.
is that why I'm always put in charge of moving decoys?
No, we just have you help.
Yeah. So, okay, I got lost for a second.
Yeah, we went on a little tangent there, but blue skies, I think something great is scouting.
I don't mind. And there's some, like you were saying, there's some guys that absolutely won't hunt when it's sunny. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I'm on like a lot of Facebook groups and everything, and some guys are like cloudy days only, and then you got these other guys that don't even want to step out on a cloudy day. They just want bluebird days. As long as there's wind, these guys have kind of their certain scenario picked out, and that's what they like.
Yeah, what I feel like on a more of a sunny days, maybe there's a good bit of wind, is that they're more patternable, so you need to scout. They're using the same routes. They're flying in the same places. When the weather starts getting a little crazy, things start moving in, new birds show up.
Unpredictable.
The birds start getting a little bit, when it's foggy or when it's cloudy, things start changing, and that's whenever you can take advantage of a little bit of the chaos. But when it's sunny, the birds are routine. They're running the same pattern, they're flying the same field, they're doing the same thing. A lot of times, like I said, this is not set in stone, but I feel like you got to pay attention. So scouting is very important, and on both aspects of horrible conditions, you still got to know where the birds are at, or in the bluebirds. I think bluebird skies, I think you need to really pattern where they're going. If you can't get close to the X, you got to get in that travel route, because they're not going to be hopping here to here to here. They're going to be doing their routine, and they're probably been there a while. It's probably there's not any fronts come through, not new birds. So, I mean, pay attention to that. You need to be scouting. If you have a whole week and it's sunny, and highs of 65s or 55s, and it's pretty nice out, you need to be paying attention that if these birds are down here, if you have some local birds, they're going to be doing the same thing over and over again until maybe the storms come through and the new birds come in, and other birds push out, new birds come in, things start changing up a bit. You got to make sure you're scouting, and that's very important. I think is something for bluebird skies I would focus on quite a bit.
Yeah, and one thing that we kind of ran into on like foggy days, in one hunt in particular, we had a big snowstorm come through. It was like December 10th or 11th of 2016, and I mean, we just had a huge front come in, and I mean, it was pouring on us out in the blind with just like snow coming down hard. And we had a ton of birds in the area. They were all flying real low, and I don't know if that was due to just how like foggy it was and just the bad weather, but all the birds were flying low, and they might not necessarily came into the spread every time, but they were all 60, 80 yards, whereas some of those bluebird days, they're 140, 160 plus yards up. So that's kind of another thing just to kind of watch for and try to work your spread or
yeah, when you got low visibility too, make sure you're more vocal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We haven't even got to that part yet.
No.
So jumping maybe into decoys, I say, cloudy days, you got fronts come in, your chances I think are going to be, I think it'll be a little bit better because of maybe new birds or, not feeding at night. I think really jump on those days if you can. But I think you definitely can, like we also talked about, we definitely have success on, no cloud in the sky, maybe a little bit of wind days. You just got to know, maybe you really got to get on the pattern. You got to get in between them, where they're going, where they want to be. You got to get on them maybe early in the morning. Sometimes at night they fly a little bit too late, but I really think both scenarios, you just got to change up your strategy a little bit. But going into decoys, what do you guys like to do on sunny days? You want to go less, more? What are you thinking?
I always bring enough decoys no matter where I go so I can run a big spread. But we can cut back when needed. Like the text rigs make it so easy if you need to pick up a dozen decoys quick or 2 dozen decoys quick.
But that's if you're not limited by space. Some, people that are boating in or people that got to walk in, carry it in, jets let them in, that may not be an option. But I don't know. I always make sure I have motion decoys, period.
Yeah.
Whether it be spinning wing or like a flock of flicker or water motion. I mean, and of course those obviously are going to weigh the most, but 1 to 2 spinning wings and like 2 water motion, so 4 motion
jerk
decoys.
rig even.
Yeah, anything. I always make sure I have water motion regardless, and then depending, I guess, on what type of hunting. If we're hunting public ground, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, obviously I'm not taking as many because I don't have a mud boat.
Yeah.
So it's what goes on my back is what I take in.
Yeah.
So
what your group can carry in.
And that's.
But I do think if there's limited wind, if the hunt you think is going to be a little bit harder due to the nice out, high pressure.
I would take more motion over. I would.
Yeah, but also I would on those days I would be making sure I had as much of the kitchen sink as I can get, because those days when those ducks you're not on the X and they're flying and you're trying to get in between them, you're gonna need to put up a stance, and say, hey, I'm here, that you need to compete with some of the stuff that they're routinely doing. So I think that's when I would personally be running a bigger spread if I can, or doing as much as I can to compete with those harder conditions, because the birds are kind of doing this routine thing. I'm trying to get in the middle. I'm trying to, I'm really trying to deceive them and let them think that they need to be where I'm at, So I'm thinking I might be running 4 dozen, and if I have some really, capable, strong guys helping me, I might be able to get 6 dozen
like
out there.
Like Aaron here. He take 8 dozen right on his back.
Don't even know about it.
Yeah. We got a new Rogers bag for that.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. 8 dozen.
The Goliath.
Yeah.
No, but
Goliath bag.
But yeah, definitely spinning wings and water motion and decoys. If you think if you're gonna be running traffic, and just depending on if you're in the water or if you're on land, if you're gonna be running traffic, make sure that you can bring whatever you can personally bring. I think because the conditions are gonna be hard. If the birds are stale, they've been there for a while, you're gonna know you're gonna need to bring your A game as best you can. But I think it's almost the opposite on the cloudy days or the front days.
Like a less is more mentality.
Yeah, and I think like certain things like motion is like key on cloudy days, and maybe not even a spinning wing at all, but maybe more motion and less decoys. If it's a big front day and it's cloudy and a lot of ducks are coming in,
moving in some migrators.
Yeah, a big spread might really bring in a big group of ducks. I mean, I personally like to shoot like groups about 6 and under, but some guys like to bring in the big ones because that is amazing to see.
Oh yeah.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, I was gonna say to be perfectly honest, I tend to get a bit overwhelmed when you field hunting and you see like 250 greenheads coming in. I just sit there and watch, and then everybody's up and shooting, and I'm still watching.
Yeah, that's like what we were talking about earlier.
I enjoy watching them as much as I do shooting them. Yeah, and you get that many birds coming in, you're just in awe. But man, I'll tell you what, that's one thing. If you've never experienced to watch hundreds of mallards come into a field or something right on top of you, oh man.
That's like what we were talking about earlier with buck fever, but and I was telling you, I get duck fever. Like when these groups start working, and whether it's 6 birds or 50 birds, 100 birds, my knees start shaking, my colon kind of slacks a little bit. I just start like, well, yeah, true. And I just get like shaky. I don't know what it is, but I can't help it. Yeah. I just get too excited.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first shot's just kind of thrown out there and throwing steel at them, but
just tossing some steel in the air, let them know. Warning shot. Yeah. Let them know I'm here.
Pretty much.
Beginning of the year for me, a good group of birds come in like that. I probably turn to say, the guy next to me is like, I don't know if I even looked down the barrel.
Yeah. He was just so excited.
Just so excited. The first group, first good group of greenheads or something, and they work perfect. I'm so excited. I might as well not even shoot.
Yeah. Exactly. You emptied your gun and you don't know what at. It just in the air.
Yeah. But then after that, I'm like, oh, wait, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. You just get so excited, but it's true. You do. You get crazy excited.
But I think for decoys on a cloudy day, I think ultra realistic. You know, I might not worry about any of the flash because you're not going to get it. But super realistic. So stirring up the mud, you know, move it around.
That's another time where I like the splash and decoys. So whether like a pulsate or a lucky like swimmer or splash or dabbler, whatever it is, that water slapping each other, like the water on water, I really like that sound too. So I try to factor in a lot of that motion into my spread.
Yeah. Jerk rig. Don't forget the jerk rig. I mean, might as well have it. It's not that much to bring in.
Yeah. Half a pound plus your anchor. The anchor's like 1.5 pounds, but
still, it's good to have. Out of all the conditions we've talked about, I think the only condition that I would almost rather just stay in or not hunt is like an absolute downpour. I've killed a few ducks in a crazy over-the-top downpour, but more often than not, it's eating snacks and getting soaking wet and drinking coffee and getting soaking wet and filthy and muddy, which I don't mind doing, but I don't know. Have you ever had awesome hunting in the downpour?
We've had a couple good hunts, but most of it when it's like that is right when it just starts or right as it's kind of fading out.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say.
Necessarily in the middle of that.
Yeah. In the middle of it, you know, you might find a way to be in your truck or something. But you better be ready when you see this big, you're looking at a radar. I would definitely look at a radar. When you see this opportunity coming through or leaving, you better be ready if it's, you know, shootable hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
You better be ready to hunt some of that.
But yeah, if it's 100% chance of rain from 5 in the morning to noon and it's a hard rain, yeah, I'll try and time an evening hunt or something, but I don't know. I've never had good luck just in a hard rain.
Yeah. I mean, the harder and harder it get, the ducks move deeper and deeper into cover. Like, you know, if it starts to get a little bit nasty out, they're going to move maybe back into coves or creeks or something like that. And then it starts to get real bad. They're going to be tucked up even deeper into that and just protection, get out of that just like we would, you know. But yeah, so we're going to transition next to blinds. So we've talked about a little bit on the sunny days and shadows and the cloudy days. And obviously you don't have shadows. Well, I mean, I feel like on a cloudy day, I like hiding in that better. I feel confident. I feel like I maybe don't screw it up as much because you can get away with a little bit of movement. Wear a good camo pattern. I think you really hide really well, but I think on a sunny day, if you can take advantage of shadows, hiding in natural shadows, not creating your own, obviously, you can really I guess, blindside them that way.
Sure. And regardless, though, I think, I've been guilty of it. The guy who's sticking his face out of a layout blind or trying to peek at the birds every opportunity. I mean, we've all been guilty of it, but I think your face is one of the biggest flares out there.
Yeah.
Putting a camera lens up.
Well, yeah. Yeah. That does it too.
Yeah. I remember we had last year, we were hunting out of some fast strike blinds, and I think we were hit really, really well. But the video camera the DSLR I was running to film these geese, I think they're working good, so I really wasn't worried about it. But I was up there waving that thing around, and I was probably a little bit too high. It was sticking out a little bit too much, and it was a cloudy day, but I still think the lens flare a little bit could have hurt that. But we talked about next time I was going to sit a little bit farther down in the blind. Like on maybe a strutter chair instead of I'm giving out all our secrets. Yeah. Instead of
throw a camera lens up in the air. Yes. They like that.
No, they don't. But just getting a little bit farther in the blind with something that flares like that. But I think in the cloudy conditions, you could maybe not have to worry about bringing, a really, really, really good blind, or whether it's an A-frame or a layout blind or whatever kind of blind you're using. You might be able to use your natural vegetation as long as you're still, and you got good camo on, and maybe you do have some face paint or a good gaiter or something like that that's cover most of you can just stay still and don't move. And as long as you're around cover, you're not going to stick out. But I think on a sunny day, I think you might want to be using your artificial, blind, your blind to hide yourself, I think, a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, and that's one thing, like sunny versus cloudy. Cloudy I like because, like, during the season, 90% of our winds are west, northwest, north, wind coming out of that direction. So on cloudy day, you can kind of get away with setting up on the west side facing east and not worrying about the sun being right in your face because you got that cloud cover. On a sunny day, if you got a west wind and you're looking east, I mean, it does make it kind of tough sometimes because the sun, first thing in the morning, I mean, it's right at you.
Yeah.
Just kind of lighting you up.
So
I think that's a huge, I think that's
face.
a kind of a huge thing to just kind of pay attention to. Like, you can absolutely face east on a bluebird day and shoot birds, but you gotta really focus on, like, keeping your hat bill low, looking down, just following them with your eyes.
Don't move.
If they come in or between you and the sun, though, that's tough too.
Yeah, that's another, for
that's
sure.
super tough.
So getting away in those foggy or cloudy days, you can really get away with playing the wind and facing like the exact direction they need to. Put the wind in your back, or if you like to crosswind, having it coming in from the side.
Yeah, we had some pretty good. I said we weren't going to do this, but we had pretty good goose hunts, and we were facing east out of layout blinds. But a lot of times, layout blinds, you're not really staring at the sun.
No, you're staring up 24/7.
Yeah. You're kind of staring above it. Now the geese do, cross between you and the sun, and it blinds you a little bit. But also layout blinds can protect your face, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes other type of blinds, your face is kind of exposed a lot of time. Layout blinds, you can get under all that mesh, and your face and your movement's not going to be seen under there. So you can get away maybe if you're hunting layout blinds facing that direction. But if you're in an A-frame and, Billy's down there poking his head up and down every time he hears a quack or something, and you're going to get spotted with the sun blaring, right at you guys.
Yeah. And that's where it comes into play. One of the biggest factors behind really safety is just like concealment. Whether turkey, deer, waterfowl, anything, it's just concealment, trying to like either stay still or cover up. So a lot of our good pins that we found out of has been facing east, but if you brush them in, if you kind of play it right, I mean, you can absolutely do it. Just can be tougher if you want to try to get away with those movements.
Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So do you think, Gregory, you're the call guy, do you think calling changes in these different types of weather conditions?
Yeah. I do, just because, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, a lot of bluebird days, and I don't know if it's just because on cloudy days I can't see the ducks so high, but on bluebird days I feel like ducks are flying and moving higher. And I don't know if everyone else is kind of having that same experience or not. But sometimes on those days, I feel when they are high, we need to run them more aggressive. So you get that aggressive feed with like that little bit of whine on it. I think can be really effective compared to like on a cloudy day. You could just get away with some soft quacks so the ducks are running low. So I think you can really play with that, and it's going to change every day no matter what. You could have one sunny day, you need to be aggressive. The next, they just want soft. But I think I always start out more aggressive on a sunny day, personally.
Just see what things are like.
Yep,
yeah.
For sure.
I feel like that's what I would be doing. I mean, and I feel like when it's cloudy out and then we got some maybe fronts moving in, I feel like everything's setting out to be right. So I don't want to mess anything up. I don't want to put the human in it. I want to let things play out. I want to be super realistic in the spread, no spinning wings or something, just water motion. I want to be, hid real well and real natural, real basic, soft quacks. And I feel like that's where I'm the most confident in as far as deceiving these birds to where, they think I'm got a live group of ducks right out here. That's where I'm the most confident at is doing that style of hunting right there. But like really realistic decoys, hid really well, soft calling, basic calling. That's a blast for me. That's my favorite time to get out there. But I mean, we've had bluebird skies windy day, 10, 11 o'clock, where we had to pretty much talk them all the way into the spread. That's what it took.
Just until their feet touch.
Yeah, that's what it took to get them in.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of days, cloudy and sunny, mostly cloudy from what I've experienced, that you can just hit like a single klaxon, like meh, meh, meh. Or you can do kind of like a short cadence, and really work them. And then on other times, like on a sunny day more so, you got to really get that aggressive, maybe your 4 or 5 note quick cadence, and just kind of a quicker, more aggressive style.
Yeah, definitely. Man, we've been cruising along on this weather thing.
Yeah, I say we jump over to public land hunting.
Yeah. You think we can go? There's a lot to go on there. I think I could go a little bit longer on public land hunting than this. So
well, we're at the 40-minute mark here, so I would try and keep it under 20.
Yeah. So Gregory.
Yep.
I'm going to start with saying we're pretty blessed here in Missouri as far as public land access and waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Bob Brown, Nottoway Valley, Grand Pass, Otter Slough down south. I mean, and around the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
We are pretty fortunate here. We've got a very active conservation department. I've hunted Kansas too, but I've not hunted a lot of other states south as far as public ground. But I know in Missouri we're pretty blessed.
Yeah, and that's just our big ones. I mean, we got a ton of small ones that
absolutely
there's too many to name, and guys would probably come after us if we did name them. But
yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Exactly, but I figured I'd rattle off a few of the big ones. But
yeah, everybody knows those.
Yeah,
I would say, the main challenge for me in public land hunting is a lot of these spots you got to draw in of a morning. You're drawing pills, and there's usually a lot of parties, and only so many parties get in. I would say that's one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, that is a challenge. But let's change it up a little bit. So let's say guaranteed you're gonna hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not taking you're gonna drawing a pool or anything.
Then the next biggest challenge would be getting all your gear from point A to point B.
Yeah. Well, we'll work into that. So let's say you have a conservation area that's open to everybody. First come, first serve. It's decent size, maybe not huge. And you want to go. You really like to hunt it because of you're not worried about your odds. Now you're just worried about being early, the first guy there. That was my one thing I was going to talk about. Before I get into that, though, I mean, for both scenarios, I think scouting is huge. I feel like I say that every time we talk about anything. Scouting.
It's important, though, for everything.
I feel like on a public land, though, to really make it a good hunt, take your time and scout before you go up there. And I'm not saying try to scout the night before. That could tell you some true sign, but I like to scout the time that I'm hunting, to figure out what they're doing at that time. And a lot of times these places I'm hunting are only an hour and a half away. And we don't have to be here till 9 or 8, whatever we decide. And I don't even get there by 9 sometimes. But an hour and a half's not that far. I mean, you just got to get up. It's not terrible amount of gas. You get your buddy, maybe split some gas, go get breakfast one morning. At the McDonald's or whatever. That's whatever's open.
If there's breakfast, I'm in.
Yeah.
Get
out there before light comes up. Get out to the place before you're going to go hunt. And get out there in the morning if you're planning on hunting in the morning. Scout the area. Figure out where the birds are and where they want to be.
Well, and I think a lot of that, too, is not necessarily scouting for the birds, but scouting for water. A lot of our conservation areas around here, they flood the area in stages. So you may say, oh, man, this is going to be a great spot. We knocked the tar out of the birds there in December. Yeah. Well, when you go the end of October, 1st of November, that area may not have water yet. So that's another thing. I think, the birds are going to be where there's water, but where there's water at in December, there may not be water the 1st of November. So, I mean, that's definitely, I think you got to find the water in some of these areas too.
Mm-hmm. And building on that, another thing to watch out for on that scout trip is where the people are. Because a lot of these places have like a dirt mound set up so you can kind of stay dry. And I mean, it's almost guaranteed someone's going to be there. Mm-hmm. But kind of see where other groups are, and you want to be a safe distance away from those.
Yeah.
Obviously.
and the birds might know that there's always going to be a group there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they, if you see that, if you go up one morning just to scout and you can't hunt, because you just got to be there for, 30 minutes at first light or something like that, and you got to go to work. I think that is still crucial to see that.
Yeah.
But you might see that all these hunters go here, here, and here, and then all these ducks, they ended up going over there because they didn't want anything to do with them,
Yeah, for sure.
So you might get a lot of these little pick up on these things and what they're doing and where they're liking to fly. Let's say you get there, you always got to think of plan B and C, and that's what I'll get to here in a bit. But you get there and 3 other guys beat you, which it sucks. Sometimes it happens, though. I mean,
oh yeah.
When it gets competitive, guys are sometimes sleeping out there.
Yeah.
And when you're not the first guy in line, you get to pick the spot. You got to think where else would be the next best place, or where else can I get in the way of where these birds like to hang out at. I know certain areas you can pick up on trends and what these ducks like to do on that particular piece of ground, where they're liking to fly at, where they all tend to go from which directions and stuff. And you pick up on that, and maybe if you don't get the best spot, you can get a spot that's, really nice. And maybe you're not just picking it because it looks nice. You're picking it because of what the birds that you've scouted are telling you, not because there's a good pool right there, but they never want to be there because, everybody's down there, running around, ruining that spot maybe or something like that.
I would say, too, I forgot what I was going to say. Hey, I was thinking about it while you were talking just then, and I was really going to bring it up, and then I got a drink of water, and it slipped my mind. So
yeah, one thing
so we're just on scouting. So we got to think of what comes next. We're scouting, get there before, scout before you hunt, and really get to pick up on what the birds are doing in that area. I think is crucial. After that, I mean, what were you got something, Greg?
Yeah, like we got a conservation area around here that there's one point on a tree line that is guaranteed the first party at this area is going to hunt the point of that tree line. Chandler, I know you know what I'm talking about.
It's usually
We've been
me,
there plenty
right?
of times.
It's usually me. No, I'm kidding.
So that's one thing. If you see another car in the parking lot, I mean, you can almost just go straight to your plan B.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to be there. And one thing to that is kind of figuring out, it kind of goes along with figuring out where the ducks are, but sometimes you are able to hunt areas that you wouldn't necessarily would think would be prime. Because there's a lot of times that I've set up, like they'll have flooded smartweed or corn, and you can literally just set up with nothing around you, just set up in one of that shallow flooded crop, and kind of throw your decoys out, and you don't have a lot of visibility on the water because there's not a big pool out in front of you. But I mean, it can just be devastating for the ducks. They come in and they don't see a lot of spreads like that or a lot of guys right there. But then they see all your decoys, and I mean, if you can just fool them like that, sometimes it works out really well.
Yeah.
So I do remember the point I was going to bring up, and it has to do with hunting public land. And I've had multiple experiences as far as, do you prefer to go to a public area and there's not very many people and it's not crowded, or do you like to go when most pools or spots are full? Namely because it seems like on some of those days when there's a lot of guys and a lot of parties in that public ground, the birds are constantly moving, whereas you go in there and, there's only a couple parties in there, the birds find a spot to sit down, and then every bird goes to that spot, and then you don't get them. So that would be my point. What do you prefer?
As you release that question, the more and more is you opened up a can of worms. I mean,
we got worms.
You might not think that. You might say you might know your answer immediately, but I don't think, for me personally, I mean, there's a lot going on to figure out where I want to be as far as public land hunting at certain times of year. Because sometimes it's a hybrid because I want to be trying to draw in and then having plan B at a place where I know that I don't have to draw in. But then I have been out there, the only group there on a weekday, thinking, this is great. I got the kingdom to myself. And they go sit down, over there.
Every group
stuff happens, and then I can't do anything,
Yeah.
You know, it's going to take, you can't do nothing about that. And you need there is times where you've enjoyed everybody kicking them up a little bit, you know, keep birds moving around. But, you know, I think when I pick a spot sometimes is a spot that I know I can have an edge. So definitely hunting a place so you can start figuring out an edge, I think is important.
Become familiar with an area. Sure.
But man, picking out which way you want to go, I think it's just, I'm trying to figure out if I can tie it to the time of year.
Late season, I love being there by myself because if you got an open hole and frozen water and you can get some movement in there,
especially if there's food too.
Oh yeah, that's when I really like.
Front days, I can stand being with a bunch of groups.
Yeah, because everybody's gonna do pretty good.
Yeah, it's a blast, and you know, you get in, you harvest, you get out, let them roost. You know, let them get settled down, let them get comfortable a little bit, and don't bang them up too much. But I don't know. Sometimes I like to be, you know, the only guy out there, though. Sometimes I'll go out in the evening knowing I'll be the only one out there. That's exciting to really test myself. I really don't know if it's the best thing to do for hunting wise, but sometimes I'm out there wanting to do it all by myself, carry it out, set it up, do everything.
And then, of course, in that scenario, you're limited to what you can take.
Yeah, for sure. Which I guess we'll go into that. I mean, we have public access where you can do boats. We have a lot of public access where you truck in by foot, you know. So
and jet sleds and anything you can find.
Jet sleds and carts and whatever redneck you can rig up. I mean, we've all done it, and I've been doing it for a while. And this is kind of how I started. I never started with any leases or private ground. It's all public waterfowl. It's kind of where I got, you know.
If you want to see some high-end redneck engineering, hang out with a group of waterfowlers.
Yeah,
you'll see some good
I've
stuff.
had some myself. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So getting all the gear out there, I think that's one of the tough ones on public land. I myself don't have a mud boat, so it's on my back more often than not, and depending on where I'm hunting, a jet sled.
Yeah, and that's honestly where I tell you when it's me by myself or me and one other guy, it tends to be more focused on realistic spreads. I will have a double spinning wing backpack on with 2 pulsators, and then maybe 12 decoys over his shoulder on Texas rig, and that is how I'm going in, and the other guy's matching me. So that's some water motion there, and only 2 dozen decoys. But that's, I think, one of my favorite spreads. You know, that's a great amount of motion and a great amount of decoys, manageable to get in there. And sometimes you gotta give up things. You know, I was hunting this past weekend, public land, 2 hunting. Going to plan A, B, and C because we had to go through these lists. But I gave up a seat, you know, like we give up some stuff depending on where we're trying to go, just knowing that we'll be on our knees, you know, hunting in the shallow water, or we'll be sitting down on like a cut bank or something. We won't have the luxury of a nice marsh seat or a nice chair. We're going to have to give that up so we can, you know, get into these spots maybe. But some other times when you have easy water access and jet sleds, you can throw in all the chairs you want. You can throw the real nice chairs in there. You can throw all the fancy blinds, and you can haul the kitchen sink out there if you can get it floating on jet sled on the water. But a lot of other times when I'm running and gunning, it's decoys and gun and pulsators, whatever, and that's it. You get out there, figure out a place to hide.
There's 2 things I'll never give up: coffee and snacks. I don't give up coffee and snacks.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
That's
I gotta have
something important as motion.
I've changed to where I don't, on some of those style hunts right there, I don't even take a blind bag. It's all in my waders in my pocket.
Yeah,
because I don't know.
Big coat pockets.
When I'm in that type of mood and we gotta get somewhere, and you know it's maybe a little bit farther out, but we know it's gonna be a good hunt. I don't worry about the snacks or the coffee, how I'm gonna get that there. I just make sure I got enough shells and all the other stuff I need in my pockets and my waders to get out there. But that's just me. So I do sacrifice a lot sometimes when it's those style of hunts, and I feel like I've had some great ones like that where you feel like you're scratching out barely, barely getting by, but it turns out having some of the best hunts you've ever had.
True story.
And that's what I'm trying to do now is cut back with all this camera gear and all this getting added. And I'm trying to cut back other places to keep my weight pretty close to what I've had in the past.
You sound like us trying to go elk hunting a couple of weeks
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, taking all the camera gear with you on the mountain. You're counting ounces then. And then you're throwing in a pound, 2-pound camera, pound lens, and it adds up quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I do the same thing.
And that's what it is when you're hunting
public
public ground. It is a game of ounces at some point.
Yeah.
And then, you're talking about whether it's a EVA decoy versus a hard plastic versus foam filled. I mean, I would not, for the style of hunting I do on public ground, foam filled's kind of out of the question.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing a lot of hiking. So foam filled's not an option. I love foam filled decoys, but not, I mean, they don't serve my purpose when I'm hunting public ground.
Yeah. They're, be interesting. We need to start weighing decoys to see where everybody sits at. But it is kind of a newer spectrum right now that you can actually think about your weight as far as your decoys. And I think that's really helping out in Missouri, in this area, being that I don't think 4 years ago you really had that option.
No.
They're all about the same.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of, like, I remember when I first started, all I had was blow-up decoys. Like, that's the only thing I had. And then it kind of transitioned into this hard body. The harder the body, the more durable, the bulkier, just trying to get this. You're really adding weight, but it's just coming from, like, the durability and the plastic being used on these decoys, and now everything's starting to lighten up while trying to keep the same durability. Like
Softer
the
plastics.
XDs, the blow-up,
packables,
the packable mallards.
The Lucky Ducks got their deception decoys.
There's all sorts of these decoys that are coming out and really fitting that market well.
They can pack down.
And one that was kind of forgotten about in the past, but serving a lot of guys well now, for sure.
Yeah. So another thing that I really think is important on public land hunting is plan A, plan B, plan C, plan C, part B.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So we went out teal hunting this past weekend, and I'll keep this short. But basically, we had a plan A. Didn't turn out. Another hunter kind of was there, and then we didn't have good enough water because they weren't flooding the area right, or yet. They'll probably flood it for big duck, I hope. But another hunter there, surprisingly, because we were there early. So it was one of those things. So then immediately we kind of went out and looked for water. And we had a little bit of a scouting report on this area. But real quick, called it plan B. Heading to plan B. It was one of those plan Bs that I didn't have too much confidence at this time of year. But in big duck, I would have had all the confidence. So I jumped before we even got to plan B, I went to plan C. Because I knew I had confidence in the area that I felt like we could go out and have a successful teal hunt. So when we get to plan C, the area we want to go to has another hunter on it. So then we had to go to plan C part B, which is we had to jump on the other side of the peninsula, which actually turned out to be better because the wind was actually in our favor.
And the sun.
And I don't know why that group was there. Probably because it's popular. Probably because it's a good arm. Birds are flying. But we went on the other side of the peninsula, and had the sun in our back, and the wind actually had our back. I mean, why didn't we go there the first time? I don't know why. But it turned out to be
Old habits die hard.
Yeah, a great successful hunt, and it was because we had multiple plans inside. Plans and more plans. We had A, B, C, and then like I said, we did C part B.
Yeah.
We did all that before shooting light got set up, and we were able to harvest birds and have a great hunt. Everybody was laughing and having a good old time, and guys swimming in their waders because we got to go pick up decoys or pick up birds a little bit farther out than we planned on picking them up. I mean, it was a great hunt.
Oh yeah,
I think that's important. Is it really stinks if you don't have those backup plans and you're banking on a certain thing and it doesn't go through, and then you got to settle for something and it doesn't turn out good.
Yeah.
You're not able to, do anything. It's just not good.
And that kind of goes back to the conservation areas that you draw at. Like, there's a lot of those areas that have open pools that you don't have to draw, But then there's a lot of them that don't have that. So if they don't, you need to have a backup plan for another close area.
Yeah.
Just in case you don't get drawn.
But we do, that is good that some guys can go and hunt these places that are open. This area right here is draw, and then there's open. You can go there if you don't get drawn in and still have a pretty good hunt.
Sometimes they're just as good, if not even better.
Yeah.
Just depends on the day.
Yeah, you just got to know.
For sure. And that's another kind of time that scouting can come into play, because if that open area is doing better, then you might not have to get up as early to meet that drawing time, because the draw time is usually, an hour or 2 hours before.
Yeah, I mean, it's early.
Yeah. So you can get up a little later, go to that open area, be the first one there, pick your spot, and then you'll have some guys trickle in after the draw.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I forgot to mention on scouting. Online scouting, digital scouting.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely do it. I mean, I figured most people do, but
I don't know. To me, I like it as far as vegetation. But water fluctuates so much, and especially this year, it just
dry and then 10 inches of rain.
Yeah, so I love digital scouting, but to a certain degree.
Yeah, you can't rely on water. I don't think, at least for our area. No, but I can rely on where the river came from, where it's going, and points of reference how this land is shaped. If I'm heading north, this is what it's going to look like. If I'm going south, east, west, this is where these are points of interest that I'm going to be looking at. Those are all really, really, really good tools before you get to a place. Even if you do scout and you haven't gone out there, this is your first time you've scouted it from a binocular from the side of the road, and you scout it from home on Google Earth, on X.
I think that gives you a good frame of reference.
Yeah.
I think that'll give you a plan A, B, C, and D, and then boots on the ground, tires on the road will solidify and or cancel a C or cross off a D, or, then you got to start making more. But I think it's a good starting point for sure.
Don't forget, use your tools. There's some free tools out there, and there's some tools you can pay for and get a lot of information from too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. So we're running right at an hour. Any other thoughts, Gregory, on weather and or public land hunting?
No, I think everything kind of comes back to 2 points. One being scouting. Just watch it, and then the second one being motion. I think that's a huge factor in any situation, rainy, cloudy, sunny, anything. I just think motion is one of the biggest keys.
My final thought is going to be how many weather apps I have on my phone.
Oh goodness.
Man. Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, and the one that comes with it, 5.
Yep.
I have 5 weather apps.
Now, are you counting the radar?
Oh, yeah. I have one that's specifically, radar-oriented, 2 weather apps.
And you use them all?
Hunting app. Oh, 100% during season.
Yeah, I check all 3 or 4. I don't think I really use the one that comes with it.
Nope.
We're all using iPhones here.
I didn't even know one came with it. I downloaded a bunch of these other ones.
Oh, I rarely use it. It's matter of fact, I don't even know where it's at. It's hidden under some menu somewhere. Yeah. But I don't use that one. But I've got 4 other ones.
Rattle off. Yeah. I'm using Weather Underground, AccuWeather. What else you
Weather
guys got?
Channel.
I use Weather Channel
Radar,
on
Scout
X,
Look on it. Yeah. There's a slug of them out there, but that's my final thought. How many weather apps do you have on your phone? I have 5.
Yeah, apparently there's one that comes with it, but I got Weather Channel and then my online mapping just on X, and
Rookie.
For the most part,
Rookie.
that covers me. I like them because I can mark exactly where the blind's at, exactly where I want to be, trail camping.
And he's talking about OnX here. That's a subscription service where it's got a lot of good information about. You can mark waypoints, you can track in, track out. We've used it.
Very helpful, especially on public ground if you're in the dark.
And also, it also tells you public ground and private, which is a whole nother ball game. As far as it tells you private and who owns that that piece of ground and stuff. That could be very crucial for some waterfowlers out there. But we used it pretty hard for a week out in Colorado 2 weeks ago. It was pretty good stuff.
So, what are your final thoughts?
I guess, and I'm not going to say scouting, but I guess being students of the
ducks, really.
Actually, I want to add one more thing.
Students of the waterfowl habitat and
public
environment and all that stuff. Just taking it all in, because I think you learn and then you become more wise, and as you get older and older, and then you figuring all this stuff out, and then you start to go know the little tricks and tips and what right to do at the right time, what time of year, what type of weather, what to do at that moment, and you really get a leg up on a lot of other people. And then it's good also to share that knowledge with somebody younger or somebody.
That's another thing I want to add on public hunting. When you get out there, be respectful of others. Don't be an ass. I mean, seriously, don't get out there and just, I mean, be respectful. I mean, treat others like you want to be treated, and, you know, try and just be respectful. Work with other guys out there.
I know. Yeah, I was going to say another thing that it happens all the time, and I think it should happen more, is when you do get to a spot and there's another guy there, go talk to him, because you might find out that you're by yourself and he's by himself. Mm-hmm. What are you guys going to go do? You're going to go hunt together.
Exactly.
You're going to go make a new friend. You're going to talk about all sorts of duck hunting and what he likes to do, what you like to do. You're going to share knowledge off each other. You're going to have a good hunt, you know, hopefully.
For sure.
You know, don't be afraid. When you pull up and there's a truck in your little access point that you like to go in, don't just whip around and leave. Maybe just stop and see what's going on.
Yeah. And if you see him at the parking lot, just kind of figure out where he's going, or if you
and you guys can strategize too.
Yeah, for sure.
I've definitely gone to a place and says, "Well, I know," and I've seen the guys at the same area. We've in passing, I know we can go here, you know, kind of flip coin. You're here first. You pick your spot, and I'll go here, because we know that these two spots are going to be pretty, common. Even maybe one's over the other, but still, you can be respectful and work with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hunt very strategically and have a good one.
Yep. No matter what, it's always safety first. So comes into a big play.
Absolutely.
Public, yeah.
Okay, well, we're over an hour. Everybody's given their final thought, opinion, and remarks. So
until part 2.
And until I guess our next user or listener question, and we'll do that again in about 8 more shows.
About 8 more shows, yeah. And you can always Facebook message us if you want us to talk about something, or if you have a question.
Yeah. And I'm on Facebook a lot, so
feel
free to shoot me up.
He's named Gregory Mashburn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if you have like a handle or anything on Facebook, but Gregory Mashburn, you can find me like that. It says Rogers on my account.
Ain't nobody gonna look for you.
Ain't nobody gonna look for me, but feel free to message me if you have any questions. Need anything.
All right. We're out.